After years of waiting, we finally have Taken the TV series. Cool? In Taken the series, Bryan Mills is a former military man taking a train with his sister. When terrorists attempt to take over the train, he steps into action to save the day, and in the process, his sister gets killed. Afterwards, because of his actions, the media is after him, a government agency is after him, and the terrorists are after him. Hence, we have a series. So, of course, this film is an adaptation of the Taken films starring Liam Neeson. Though it's like a prequel series talking about kind of how he got his skills and became the hero that we know from those movies. And in that, this series feels quite different from the movies. It has like a revenge bent to it while keeping kind of the non-stop pacing and the action of the films. So anytime you have a series like this that's an adaptation of a beloved film, well, beloved by me at least, you ask two questions. How does it compare to the original? And is it any good? As for the first question, your best bet with this series is to go into it not viewing it as a prequel to Taken, which it technically is, but as a series in and of itself in the same genre. If you attempt to compare it to the film starring Liam Neeson, it's not going to compare well to that, but if you view it as just an action thriller TV series in the same genre with some similar themes, I think there is some enjoyment to be had in it. Before I chime in with my thoughts on the episode, how about you join me in the comment section? Answer those two questions. How did you think it compared to the original movie? And was it any good? I would love to talk with you about that. With that said, let's talk about the good. Right out of the gate, I thought it worked well in having more complex storytelling in depth than I was expecting. Now, this is not complex storytelling, but the movie Taken itself is very simplistic in linear storytelling, whereas here, because it's going to be an ongoing series, it has a little bit of flashback elements, and his history ties into what's going on in the plot line. And it was actually quite familiar or reminiscent of some of the seasons of 24 to me, which will be a little bit of a negative when we get to the negatives, but it had more layers to it and things tied together more so than I was expecting from the trailer. I was expecting it to very much be the opening scene happens and then he's recruited and then we go on an adventure, and that is not the way the episode plays out really at all. There's more to it and a story that unfolds as opposed to just a very linear, he's recruited and then we have week-to-week adventures. So I appreciate that about that. Also, this episode, I believe, had 3 action sequences and a chase sequence. And the chase sequence goes on for kind of like 6 minutes or something. So this is action-packed. It keeps the pacing going and has a good bit of energy to it that keeps it exciting all along the way. And one of the things that's both a good and a bad is that it very much has a distinct tone and feel to it from the movies. It doesn't feel like it's just trying to ape the films and be just like them. No, it's this idea of what was Bryan Mills like before the movies? How did he get to be the guy that we saw in the movies? And so then the story plays out quite differently. With that said, let's move on to the bad. At the end of the day, this series is just kind of action thriller schlock. It gives what people like me want, but it's not great. It's derivative plot-wise of things like 24 with revenge plot lines and a guy with a bunch of skills that can kill people. And I mean, back in the day when Taken first came out, I mean, there are all kinds of like comparison charts. Who's better, Bryan Mills or Jack Bauer? And now we have a TV series of Bryan Mills. And so there's a lot of things that are very reminiscent to one another between the characters and the nature of the show and plot lines with 24. And as it is an action series, you have to talk about the action in it and the way it's shot and choreographed. The biggest compliment I can give it is not really a great compliment. It's better than the action in Taken 2 and 3, which is to say it's not that choppy stuff that they had in Taken 2 and 3, but it doesn't really, as of yet, have a distinctive style of its own. Also, the cast thus far didn't really do anything for me. I mean, I'm not going to say they're horrible or awful, but based off the first episode, it's not like I was like, ooh, I really like this guy playing Bryan Mills. It was like, okay, I mean, he's passable. And same with Jennifer Beals in it. I mean, she was okay, but no one in it really popped to me. So That's unfortunate. And for only having had one episode, there is a good number of just kind of cringy moments in it. I mean, 15 minutes into it, they have one of these scenes where they recap the plot. I mean, I checked my watch, like, are we only 15 minutes into this and they're already doing this? Like, there's a scene where there's a bunch of people in a room and they're saying, all right, let's cover what just happened. He's on a train and terrorists got on it. And they just walk you through everything that happened, and then they explain to you what's about to happen as if you're a moron that can't follow the plot, which is really bad storytelling or bad writing, or they think that they really are being rude to the audience by thinking you're that dumb that you can't follow what's going on. Then jump forward 10 minutes after that, after Bryan Mills has beaten some guys up, and literally a guy goes, I can tell you this, he's got some skills. And it's just like, oh, why are you trying so hard to reference the movies and be like, he's got a set of skills. Oh, I hate it. That is not my type of thing that I like in shows. Before I give my final recommendation, I just want to say something real quick. I find it very odd that they would make a TV series out of Taken, because I don't feel the film series even lends itself to sequels, let alone a TV series. See, the movie Taken worked for three simple reasons. First off, it's man fantasy stuff. It's the fantasy of every man, especially every dad, that when he's called to the challenge, that when his family's put in danger, when his loved ones are put in danger, he can step up to the plate and save the day. That's what Taken is. A guy's daughter is kidnapped, and he steps up to the plate and is able to rescue her before anything particularly super horrible happens to her. That's the first reason. It's just a man fantasy type story that draws a passion out of you. It's the reason that guys go out and buy guns, take martial arts, and like to, get ready for if something happens so I can step up to the plate. The second reason is that they built a ticking clock into the storyline so it had urgency. So they say that you got 48 hours, you got 72 hours, whatever the number was, before she's sold into sex slavery and you'll never see her again. And so it's so urgent and moves so fast. As soon as it gets going, he just goes from place to place to place, wreaking havoc to save his daughter. Third reason is that you had Liam Neeson starring in it. So you've got a great charismatic actor that has an incredible physicality because he's a gigantic human being on this urgent mission to save his daughter and living out this fantasy that men have of being able to step up to the plate. Therefore, this movie resonated with men and fathers all over the world. I like it even more now that I have kids and watch it all the time because it's a fantasy. And even you can look at what made that movie work, the three things I just gave, the urgency, the dad fantasy, and the Liam Neeson, and then look at the two sequels and see why they didn't work. They had Liam Neeson and action and being thrillers. They didn't have the urgency, though, and they didn't have this dad fantasy thing. Like, Taken 2, he gets kidnapped and gets his daughter on the phone and is like, hey, throw grenades off the roof to save me. That's not a dad's fantasy. He's not like, man, I can't wait to get kidnapped and tell my daughter to throw grenades off of a building. That doesn't happen. And I say all this to say, that's why you can't really go into this series expecting what you got out of Taken, the first movie. It's just an action thriller TV series, kind of in the same genre. And if you can go in just watching it as that, not expecting the emotions evoked from that first film, there's something to be had here. So here's my recommendation as I go into my absolute final thoughts on it. It's a decent action thriller TV series based off the pilot that's very derivative and not all that great, but an enjoyable ride. I did enjoy it. With that said, my recommendation, if you're not a fan of the genre or the Taken movies, skip it. You're not going to find anything here that you want. But if you're a fan of the genre and the first Taken movie in particular, give it a shot. It's worth checking out to see if you like it. I'm not going to give it great glowing reviews, but I'll say this. I'll rent a lot of the movies from Redbox that are like those random movies that Bruce Willis is in with someone else, and you're like, when did this movie come out? Or check them out on Netflix. I enjoyed this pilot episode more than those movies. So that's to say that there's entertainment value to be had in it while not being great based off the first episode. How about you? Did you check out the first episode of Taken? Did you hate it? Because it's getting trashed on Rotten Tomatoes. The critics are not having it at all. It's like at like 16%. So what did you think about it? Did you think it was just a terrible idea to make it into a series, but it's decent enough? Or did you hate it just like all the critics did? Comment about it below, because I don't want to just talk about Taken. I want to talk about Taken with you. If you're new to my channel, never click that subscribe button. Please consider clicking that subscribe button. I love to talk about movies, and so I talk about movie news during the work week, do 3 or 4 movie reviews, as well as a live show on Sundays where I can interact back and forth with you guys a little bit, because I don't want to just talk about movies and TV. I want to talk about movies and TV with you. And as always, thank you for watching.